Hello folks and welcome. Ubuntu GNOME Desktop 24.04.2 LTS, long-term support. I'm going to talk about this mouse cursor, how you can change that from the default single and add your own. I'll be showing you a website that has over 1,000 of these things. Okay. I'll talk about the complete procedure. Most of them are you going to just be generally using your file manager to install and remove. To actually activate, you need to install the tweaks tool because that allows you to change these things. Some of these things can be adjusted as far as the size of the cursors, and some maybe not so much. You can see that got smaller and that got a little bigger. This cursor is called resizing, and it comes in fixed sizes and variable sizes. So let me first talk about maybe the tool you want to install. You want to install GNOME Tweaks. Now when I switch over to the App Center, it'll switch over to a white mouse cursor, and I'm going to type in GNOME-TW. What you're looking for is GNOME Tweaks if you don't have it installed already. And I'm not going to talk about the complete tool. I'm just going to talk about one thing that you can do with it, which is select mouse cursors. Now currently I have this one as a mix. Okay, so install that if it's not installed already. So with GNOME Tweaks, I have a shortcut of it in here. You can just find it by doing a search. I am going to open it up this way. So one thing about cursors is this one's called resizing. I also have another one called radioactive. There's a whole bunch of these different things. This one has racing lights on it called Xeon Blue. And this one's called handhelds. This is something I didn't install. It comes in your system. But it's very small because my screen res is what? Well, I'm in 4K mode with 200% scaling. Even that is too small for this. But it would work if I was on the low end of this. Maybe way down at the bottom, maybe. If I'm running in these modes, then this will become large. Hopefully that made sense to you. All right, another one that I have is this one. You don't need to install that. You just need to pick it if you're using GNOME Tweaks. These are all installed here. So I'll open up your file manager, go to other locations, and go to Ubuntu, and then go find a folder called USR, or directory. So in Linux we use the word directory, but you can use the word folder, and we can go to share. Then I'm going to type in ICON for icons. Right click, properties. Everything in there is owned by root. I have one mouse cursor that I installed in here though. Okay, so basically I have a refresh screen, and we have that. Everything in here, so white glass is actually somewhere in here, is this one. So the path in here, Control L, is USR share icons. Again, everything in here is root permissions. So red glass is on the top here, and that's what this one looks like. Where is it? Somewhere in here. That's this one. All right, so Yarrow is another one. I think it's this one here. And again, I added only one file in here called radioactive. I opened up through terminal the file manager in terminal mode, and I added this manually. The rest of these though are installed in a hidden folder in here, which are manageable by you. You don't need root permissions on this one. So how do you display hidden files? Well, you can hit the hamburger menu, show hidden, by clicking, but there's also the keyboard equivalent Control and H as in Henry. I use that one quite often. And most modern Linux file managers, you can use Control H. Now you see it, Control H, now you don't. So a lot of Linux distributions will generate this folder, and some will not. I'll give you one example. If you're running Linux Mint Cinnamon desktop, when you click their themes icon in settings, it looks for this folder. If it's missing, it generates that folder, blank. There won't be anything in it, but it generates it nonetheless. On some distributions, you will find this folder with nothing in it. And then here in Ubuntu, you won't find it at all. So you need to create it yourself. What do you put in .icons anyways? Well, first of all, to create the folder, you start with a period, if you've never done this. So I will create a test folder called .test. So that folder is sitting there, visible, and if I hit Control H, it's not. Control H to make it visible again. All right, so I'm going to get rid of that test folder. And we'll focus in on what's in .icons. Now I generated this folder, but I also installed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mouse themes, mouse cursors. They're all in here. I'll start with Azenis, and it is right here. That's the cursor I started the video with. Empty butterfly green. Empty butterfly green. Well, that's orange, so green is right here. That's a see-through kind of cursor. That's this one right here. Kind of goes good with this theme that I'm using right now, which is that one for the icon set. Okay, the next one is empty butterfly orange. And the next one in line is night diamond blue. This is a non-resizable mouse cursor, and it does glow, believe it or not. When you move it around, it actually makes it glowing. You can see it turn bright and then dim again. But this is non-resizable. So we're going to talk about also the size of cursors if that's important to you. And it is to a lot of people. Okay, this is night diamond red. And then Skyrim looks like this. Looks like a spear. The last one is Xeon Blue, and it has an interesting effect. It kind of looks like racing lights. And Xeon Blue. Maybe I'll put a darker background so you can see it. All right, so whatever cursor files you want to download and play with, they can go in here, and it's as simple as just deleting things. So if I don't want these three, what I'm going to do here is first clean my trash can out, okay, and go back to that folder. And let's say I don't want all three of these after I installed them. They're gone. They're in the trash. If I wanted to return them from the trash can, just highlight them and do a restore, and they'll be back online. So to have them displayed in this field here, your system looks in two locations, USR share icons and .icons. This is pretty much universal, actually. The .icons folder I place on just about every Linux distribution. And these are the easiest folders to maintain for you as the logged in user. You don't need root permissions. You can create this yourself. The USR share icons, on the other hand, you may or may not have root permissions, or may not know how to do that. Because that here is installed, let me find it. The radioactive is installed in a different location than here. You can see there's nothing that says radioactive on it, because it's installed here. USR share icons, and it is right there. It doesn't need to be in here. I just put it there because you can see that I can do this. I actually used to show that on my previous YouTube channel, which is now closed. It is easier for you to create those in here, though. You don't need root permissions. Okay? Where do you get these? And let's talk about sizes. Now that you know what Tweaks does, at least one aspect of this tool, you can change cursors. And keep in mind, you do have others, like handhelds is very dinky. And you also have white glass that you don't need to install. You just need the Tweaks tool to actually activate it. And there's a red glass also, if you choose not to install anything and you just want to activate Tweaks. All right, so I will go back to my radioactive icon. It's a nice highlighter. Not icon, the cursor. Mouse pointer, mouse cursor. All right, so we're going to download some of these. Now that one is in zip format, and that's on tar.gz. It doesn't matter. When you uncompress them, they should be in a clean folder. They should always have two things: a cursor folder and an index theme. You could have other files. Okay, so let's talk about a website. That has over 1,000 of these. Are you a subscriber yet? If not, I do have over 519 videos to offer you. I don't get paid to make these videos. I don't even get paid for the subscriptions or even the commercials they show. I do this for the community. So all advertisement is provided by YouTube, since, again, I don't get paid to make these. All right, so, but you can see the name of my channel, and again, Linux is for all ages. So for Linux users of any age, subscribe. Down here I have some links for you, and some other information if you're curious about when my channel came online, and how many videos and views, if you're curious, or subscribers for that matter. In here, I have GNOME-Look and XFCE. They actually both share a database. So I'm going to click this for a second and let you see the cursors. Another name for those is mouse pointers, right? In some distributions. You may not like some of these, or most of these, but there's probably some you can find out of those 1,017. So now I'm going to open up the other link for XFCE. It looks slightly different, but it contains the same data. There's still 1,017 cursors here. And this one here has the exact same number. So yes, they are sharing databases. We will stick with the GNOME-Look because Ubuntu is a GNOME desktop, if you just want to keep it that way. We can do this by rating also. There's a lot of things you may not like, and maybe some that you may want to try out. In either case, you can download these to try. I'll try the Oreo one here. So the Oreo one has multiple colors. And it looks like we're limited to only 2 sizes, though. That's unfortunate. Some of these things come in multiple sizes for the cursor. And sometimes that's important to other people, because depending on your screen resolution. In either case, I'll pick a color. What's popular? All right, so the gray cursor is, I don't really care for gray. I don't know what Spark is, but anyways, let's pick something. Let's try maybe blue. All right, so when I click this person is sponsoring this developer, which is, I'm kind of glad to see that someone is getting paid for some of that work, but we're going to download that. And these are different sponsors. So it's completed. Now we can look for other cursors if you like. We can also do searches. Now, depending on how large your screen is, as far as the innards is concerned, I'm holding down the control key while scrolling, and you can see that text box gets bigger, and as I scroll out, and it kind of goes to the center. If you're looking at this in this format here, sometimes that box is easy to miss, and sometimes when you go too big, it shifts over to here. Keep that in mind when you're doing this. RADIO. Radioactive. Pulling that down to make it smaller, that is what I'm currently using. Okay, it changed to a white cursor now. But that is the cursor I'm currently selected with. So now let me give you some information about this file. So whenever you see a $sign home, that means your home folder. The /, and if you see a period, that means it's a hidden folder. So this is what I'm referring to as dot icons or period icons. This is what they're referring to, is this folder right there. And in Ubuntu, you need to create it. On some distributions, you don't need to create that. It'll be there for you. But this is what they call for a locally logged in installation, is where you put these files. Now for system-wide, what that means is all users, you can put that in USR share icons. I made mention of this earlier. That folder requires root permissions. So it may be a little bit difficult for some and not others, depending on the system you're working with. This you have full control because you own that folder. You may not own this folder. You may not have the root capability. But in either case, mine is installed there. But I could have installed it in here also. So in here, it shows you the difference between dark and light. And there are 3 files. We have the standard one, which is in tape archive. GZ is compressed. We have a zip file that shows our cursor sizes and the project itself. So all I need to do is that and hit the download when it goes to 0. I'll click out for a second. And what do I have in my download folder? I actually have it. So I'm not going to bother downloading another copy of it. All right, so in either case, I will find another one that is called empty butterfly something. All right, an empty butterfly cursor. This one's kind of interesting. It comes in multiple colors, and it's a see-through cursor, meaning it just like the outline is all you see. And that one comes in 32, 48, 64, and 96 sizes. Not all of these are going to be available here in Ubuntu, though. All right, and you can pick from the files, and they looks like they even got Windows files in here too, for Windows cursors. We're going to stick with Linux. So I don't have the magenta one or the purple one, so I can pick that one. And I'll let this thing count down to 0 because this person is sponsoring this developer, and then I'll download it. It's a hefty download too. Considering, of course, because the Oreo one was 160 kilobytes, the other one is 3 megabytes. Now I'm going to close this. One of the things you got to remember here is, I'm going to make 2 boxes if you don't mind. Control N as in Nancy. Is we're going to be installing these in here. Okay. However, I'm going to open up the download folder in here. So with the exception of that one, I'm going to delete because I'm currently using it. So that would be that file there. It's in tar.gz format. That would be tape archive, compressed. This one is in zip. That one is in tar.gz, and that one's in zip also. Do I have the green? I do. I also have an orange, which is not here. But I'm going to install the magenta. So I'm going to double click, and it extracts into a folder. Now, before you make the mistake of doing this, it looks like it'll work, but you won't find it in here. And I'll show you why, because troubleshooting is also part of this video. So empty butterfly magenta will not be in this menu. I have empty butterfly green, and I have empty butterfly orange, but I don't have the magenta. And the reason for that is because this is not formatted correctly. When I open this folder up, you see there's no index folder here. The index is in the subfolder over here. The 2 things that you need on these mouse cursors for it to display in GNOME Tweaks is 2 files, index and cursor themes. They can have extras, but this is the 2 things that it requires. And that doesn't have that. So I'm going to move him back. And we're going to read this in here. All right, first of all, this is the guy is asking for a donation. You can probably see that. And here's a README file. I'll hit cancel and just bring it to the foreground. All right, so to install, the guy is asking you to move this folder into this folder. It even states to move it into .icons in your home directory. He actually put that in words. So what I'm going to do here, though, is drag this over. So the magenta now just has the index and cursor file. Now you can see it by going through GNOME Tweaks. And it is, there's the green, there's the orange, there's the magenta. It's a see-through cursor. Kind of a weird looking thing. Okay, while we're at it, let's talk a little bit about, actually, let me get rid of the rest of these things. I don't need the rest of these files. So I'll just hit delete, and I'll leave the compressed ones here. You can always download multiple, play with them, and then delete them. All right, let's talk about settings. As I pointed out, some of these cursor files you can increase the size of them. So if you click under accessibility options, under seeing, there's your cursor sizes. That one just shrunk to that size. And then I went here and I made larger. So this is resizable. But it doesn't look like it resized in these three ranges. On some Linux distributions like XFCE, it has numbers on it. So you can actually get variable sizes. And on some distributions, it doesn't have those at all. But they're still installed in the same locations. So I don't want this dinky one. However, if I decided to change my screen res to, let me go over to here for a second. If I were to drag this to the lower end, maybe in the 800 by 600, 1024 by 68, or somewhere in this range, this will be quite large if I'm at 100%. So this is in 4K scaled to 200. Hopefully that made sense to you. That's why that's important to understand the relationship of your cursor sizes, your mouse pointers. I'm going to make that bigger again. So since I'm in 4K mode filming in 1080 though, I want this to be as large as possible. And that is as large as possible considering the fact I'm maxed out. This is just going to be the general picture of your default cursor. All we're doing here is overriding this with tweaks. Some of these things will swap back out to generally the white cursor, like this does in the App Center. Don't know if the web browser does the same thing. Let me look. Yes, it does. It swaps out to the white cursor. As soon as I move out of the box, though, it changes to that purple thing. All right, so I'm moving it back and forth, is what I'm saying. On some systems, I recommend that you actually log out and log back into your systems, and it will take care of the switching of the cursor, but not on all systems. I believe Ubuntu does not do that. But on some other Plasma desktops, for instance, you can get it to stay. In other words, to be the same on both a web browser and your desktop. Linux distributions also, again, are not all designed the same way. But they do have the location of where these are stored in the same locations. They're generally installed in .icons or USR share icons on all Linux distros. This folder you have full control of as the current logged in user. And you can put as many of these as you want. You can also delete as many of these you want. I would just not delete the one that you're currently using. So I'm using magenta currently, so I can delete those 5 rather easily. What's in my trash? Well, I'm going to empty it first before I play. So I'm hitting the delete key. Now I only have 3. So when I go back in here, I'll still have more than 3 because I also have cursors that are installed in USR share icons. Handhelds is one of them. This one is another, your default cursor. And DMZ white, red glass, white glass, and some others. Azenis is in here because I currently have it being displayed right there. And we have the empty green and magenta. So this would be the green one, and the magenta is in there somewhere. Oh, there it is. So let's say you changed your mind because you haven't dumped your trash. That's good. All you got to do is return them. Right click, restore. And they're back online. They're back in this folder, which means you can select them through tweaks. You can play with these things. You don't like them. This is not everybody's cup of tea like Xeon Blue. But some people are fond of it. And some maybe not so much. This thing with the racing lights. Some people may like this one, but not in this screen resolution. Because it's too small, because it's a fixed cursor. This is not resizable. Neither is the blue one. but it would look very nice in a smaller screen resolution. Trust me, I've seen it actually. It's a very nice cursor. Very sharp too. White glass you have installed. Yaru you also have installed. Radioactive I haven't installed, but not in here. I installed it in USR share icons because I just wanted to give you one example of something installed in that folder. Now what happens when I create new users, they are able to get a hold of this if they install tweaks on their desktop. But they still have access to the rest of these if they install the extras in their home folder .icons. Keep in mind that what you see here on the screen right here is installed for this user only, not everyone. What everyone else gets is when it's in here. I'm just going to find the icons folder. So whatever is in here that is a mouse cursor, they will get. DMZ black is one of them. The white is another one. And radioactive, I installed that. You're not going to find that on yours. Red glass you will find, and so is white glass and Yarrow. I think that's pretty much it. There was one more in here that, oh, handhelds. That was that tiny little thing. This one here. You know, even if this thing was on the lowest screen resolution possible, this is still way too small in my book. But again, it's in there. It is definitely in there. It's right here. And that is also installed by default. But I'm certainly not going to use it because it's too small. So I could use red glass without installing anything in this folder right here. It doesn't require that. It's not in here. It's in USR share icons. So even if you don't want to install these things, folks, you can just install tweaks if you want to use red glass or even the white glass one. This one with the shadow on it. Or you can just use the default one. Some people are okay with that. And some people not so much. All right, hopefully I gave you enough information, and keep in mind, you can go through my YouTube site if you like, or you can copy down the address yourself to gnome-look.org and go find it yourself on the internet. 1017 cursors. But at least I gave you a video that it was quite lengthy, yes, on how to place those icons and look for a little troubleshooting at the same time. Thank you for watching.